arrived, and thank you. Yeah, so just so that you know, this reunion is recorded, so if you don't want to appear, you just don't show your video and there will be no problem. So let's start. I will just put the battery of my computer so that I'm sure you will not disappear, all of you. So let's start about this webinar, first webinar in English, as I told you, about family reunification in Belgium. I'm going to take your hand and to help you understand better this process. If you are a foreigner, you want to be joined by your family, you want to join your family that is living in Belgium, I will give you all my secrets about the process. So let me introduce myself. I am Candice De Bruyn. Candice De Bruyn. I am a member of the Brussels Bar. I have been a lawyer for 22 years. Firstly, I was representing the Strangers Office, and after 5 years, I started to defend the foreigners who wanted to migrate in Belgium, settle, join the family, work as an independent, as a salary worker, get the Belgian nationality, and so on. So this is about me. And now I think we are almost complete. So we are going to start about the contents of this first webinar in English. So about the process, I wanted to present 3 different hypotheses. The first one would be you are abroad and you are a foreigner out of the EU, you are abroad and you want to reunify your family that is living in Belgium. Second hypothesis would be, I'm going to move my picture, otherwise you don't see well. So let's start again. So you are abroad, you want to join your family, you are already in Belgium, but you have no valid ID and you want to make the process of family reunification in Belgium, or you are in Belgium with an ID, which is much more easy. So let's start with the first hypothesis, which is really the rule if in terms of family reunion. Normally, the basis is you are abroad, you want to join your family, you apply for a visa, which will be a process of 6 to 9 months, depending on who is going to be reunified, which means if you want to join a Belgian people or a European people, the maximum of the duration of the process will be 6 months. If you want to join a person that has a short stay residence in Belgium or is not Belgian, has a 5 years residence, then the process might take 9 months. So once the visa is granted, you will get a D visa, which will allow you to get to Belgium, register to the municipality. There will be different steps. And then at the end of that, very nicely, you will get an unlimited stay, which means a 5 years residence. And just you have to know that during the 5 years, the first 5 years, your stay will be conditioned, which means you will have to continually live with your family in Belgium. Otherwise, the Strangers Office might know that you are not living with your family anymore and might take your ID back. So let's go to the second hypothesis. So let's say you are in Belgium, you are not legal in Belgium, and you want to make a family reunification. Let's imagine that you got recently a short stay visa, so you are allowed to stay until 3 months in Belgium. And then you can apply from Belgium. But of course, if you want to make a family reunification, you have to know that you will have to make different steps. The first will be, of course, to be married or in a partnership. In Belgium, we call that a legal cohabitation. So if you arrive in Belgium and you are not in the link of a marriage, of a partnership yet, then you will have to register your partnership, and it might take until 6 months. So if you are allowed to stay in Belgium for 3 months and the registration takes more than 3 months, then we have a small problem, which is that you might be a bit without documentation, so which means illegal for some months. And then at the L'Expert law firm, we are used to deal with those kind of process so that you are really safe in Belgium. You are not afraid to stay with no documentation, and then we can apply for you for a humanitarian application, which is also called a 9 bis process. Of the name of the process. It's 9 bis because it's the name of the article of the law. And with that protection, with that application, you will be protected. So you will not be fearing the police anymore. And you will be able to continue the process of the family reunification. And you will be allowed to apply once the wedding or the partnership is registered. You will be able to reunify your family, apply at the municipality, and make all the process. The process are, firstly, you will get an annex when you apply for the family reunification. They will check at the commune whether you are living in Belgium. They are going to make an inquiry. They are going to check whether the file is complete. And once it is complete, you will get another document, which is a short stay residence. It's a certificate of registration. It's also called an orange card. And I will explain you all that in the diagrams that are coming and that I will show you afterwards, so that you have a very clear idea of the process. I wanted to point out that if you have no ID in Belgium, you will not be able to apply easily with a person that is not a European citizen or a Belgian citizen. Normally, if you want to join a person, a foreigner that has a limited residence, which means an ID of 1, 2, 3 years, for example, or who has a 5 years residence, you should go back to your country. In some circumstances, the Stranger's Office accepts that you don't go back to your country to ask for a visa. But meanwhile, during the process, you will have no ID. You will not get that orange card I was speaking about, which makes the process a bit more complicated because it might take until 9 months without being legal here in Belgium. So it's a choice you will have to make between staying here, being illegal in the process, or going back to your country, which I understand it's really difficult to leave the family for so long, but that's how the law is done. Another idea, another hypothesis would be that you are wanting to join your family, you are in Belgium and you are with an ID, which means, for example, you are a student or a researcher, and you want to change your status for whatever reason and join your family, then it's much easier because you can easily get married or make your family cohabitation and then make the process of family reunification, and you can join any kind of nationality, any kind of ID. So it's not as limited as what I was explaining in the previous diagram. So I see we are moving on quite fast. Here is the hypothesis of the wedding or the legal cohabitation. It's not a complex process. And we, most of the time, encourage our clients to do it themselves because it's quite easy. You just have to show that you are married or in a partnership, show the proof of your identity. The proof, I'm sorry. So you have to just give your identity and show that you are not married or in a legal cohabitation yet. In that case, it might happen that there is an inquiry because we had a lot of abuses of white wedding here in Belgium. So there are quite often inquiries to double check whether the person who are going to get married have a real intention to get married. So what I mean by that is that they want to make sure it's not a fake wedding. There might be an inquiry, might take a bit of time, might delay the process of wedding or legal cohabitation. But when trained by your favorite law firm, might be without any problem because you just have to answer some questions and we can help you with the process so that you can easily register your wedding or legal cohabitation, which means partnership, and being able to apply for family reunion. So let's now imagine that we have registered one of the two previous process, and we are here at the time to apply for family reunion. The best is you ask for the advice of a law firm because there are some tricks. So it's better to immediately apply for a complete file. Otherwise, you might face a rejection. So you will, if you imagine you apply with an incomplete file, you might have 3 months afterwards to complete the file. But if you don't, or if it is not made in time, you might get a negative decision, which forces you to make the appeal or to reintroduce the file with new elements. And of course, we can guide you at that step of the process as well. So if the file is complete, which is of course much easier than for the what follows, you might again face an inquiry, as I spoke earlier, which we can guide you. And if the inquiry is positive, then there will be an issuance of an orange card, as I was speaking earlier. The orange card covers your stay during the examination of your file by the stranger's office. It might take until 6 months. If you are, remember, if you are joining Belgian citizen or European citizen, might take until 9 months if you are joining a foreigner that is not in those conditions. And at the end of the process, if it's a big yes, then you will get a 5 years card, a F card, as I was explaining before. So I was pointing out earlier that sometimes you want to make the family reunification, but for whatever reason, you don't have any ID, any valid ID, or your stay is expired for whatever reason. So it is sometimes very interesting to cover your stay by making an application for humanitarian reasons. It's a 9 bis process, as I told you previously. Of course, we can help you with that as well. It's very important that it is well done because otherwise it doesn't serve. For example, you have to think of paying the tax, of making sure it's a good commune, making sure that you give a right ID so that you are sure that the application is correctly made and that you are protected. What the stranger's office will do is they will check whether the humanitarian application is like a visa, but it's a visa that you are introducing in Belgium, explaining that you cannot go back to your country for whatever reason, which is the exceptional circumstances. And you have to show that those exceptional circumstances, they deny you the possibility to go back to your country to apply for a visa, as it is the rule. And the stranger's office, they will examine it if the circumstances are valid. And if they find it, that it is valid, they will analyze whether the visa might be granted. It can be a visa for different reasons, but there must be a ground. For example, it might be a student application, a family reunification, or other hypotheses. And if those two conditions are fulfilled, they deliver an ID, which can be an A or B card. I must say it's quite rare to get the humanitarian application. In Belgium, it's really for rare cases of family with children at school that have been living in Belgium for years, or individuals who are living in Belgium for 15 years with no ID, and all the families, for example, living here, being Belgium. It happened to me once. I had a client, she was in Belgium for 15 years already. All the family was Belgian except her. Even her daughter was Belgian. And we applied for humanitarian application, and she got it, but it's quite rare. So we use it at L'Expat law firm more as a protection, as a strategy in order to go to another process, to another level. So for the family reunion, which documents are needed? I give you here a global overview. Of course, it has to be explained in details afterwards. Of course, you need to show your identity. I'm here speaking about a person who is reunited and not the reunifier. So the person who wants to settle in Belgium has to show his identity by a valid passport. The person that is reunified has to show that he has sufficient means of support. The amount is changing, is indexed every year. Now it's quite high because it's now 2,048.53 euros. There are exceptions when, for example, the person who is to be joined is looking for a job, is unemployed, looking for a job, and can show that he is actively looking for a job, and that the expenses of the family are not very high. In those cases, the amount of 2,048 euros doesn't have to be obtained. Also, you have to show that the person that is joined has a family health insurance. You have to show the payment of the tax, the copy of the ID of the person to be joined, the proof of health insurance for the whole family in Belgium, the proof of an adequate accommodation. So if you earn your house or your apartment, you have to show the proof of property. And if you are renting it, you have to show that you have a contract that is registered validly. The last number, the last number of this list, and I see it should be an 8, it's a 7, whatever, depend on several hypotheses, because I didn't cover the kind of people you can reunify. It would have been too complicated. But here, for example, if the person who wants to join the person in Belgium is a child, you have to choose that a child under 18 years old, you have to show that you have the custody on the child. If the child is more than 18 years old, you have to show that you are in charge of the child. And for European people living in Belgium, so I mean not Belgian people, but European people who has settled in Belgium, so they were living in another European country and now they are living in Belgium, they have more rights in order to, in terms of family reunification, and other members of the family can join them. And this is becoming a bit too complicated, but they have more rights. And then in those hypotheses, you have to show some others conditions. So we are now arriving at the question time. If somebody wants to ask for a question, we can start with that. You can put your questions here. If you don't have any questions, I will start with the questions of the participants that have asked questions while registering in the webinar. One of the person who registered asked a question about single permits. And as we made a webinar, 3 webinars already about single permit, I'm not going to talk about that topic today. I'm just speaking about family reunification, and I invite him to check on the YouTube account of the law firm the answers we gave about all the questions about single permit. And if he doesn't find it, he can easily send us an email at the email address lexpat@lexpat.be, and we are going to gladly answer. So let's continue about family reunification. I had some questions, and I made a summary of those questions in 10 points. So we have 10 questions we are going to analyze together. First one would be, how can I prove my legal cohabitation of marriage for family reunification? And this is the answer. You just have to prove it through official documents. So depending on the law of your country, because every country has its own regulation, you have to show that the wedding or the partnership is legal there. If it is in another language than the 3 languages in Belgium, you have to make it translated in one of the 3 languages, official languages in Belgium, and then you should apostille it or legalize it, depending on the international conventions of your country. In some cases, for European people, I was speaking about them earlier, for European people, they don't need a registered partnership. They just have to prove a stable and durable relation. And then it's a bit different. They really have to show that they have been living together for more than 1 year, or show that they have been meeting each other for 2 years. And the best would be 2 times 15 days. Like, for example, they have been traveling in another country, and they can show that they traveled 3 times more than 15 days. And also, if they have a baby together, then it's a sufficient proof. Again, I tell you, it's only for European people living in Belgium, not Belgian people, European people who have settled in Belgium. They can join, they can be reunified by partners with no registered partnership. Second question, Is there a minimum income requirement to invite family members to Belgium? I explained it already. The amount is quite high and there are exceptions, as I told you already. So, second question, what is the average processing time for a family reunification application? Well, it depends because it can be, as I told you, until 6 or 9 months, depending on the person to be joined. And also in some cases, it can be super fast because once made at the embassy, some embassies are really quick. They ask for the right documentation and it can go very quick. I saw already person getting a family unification visa within a month. So sometimes faster. So really it depends. It's difficult to give a very precise answer about that. Fourth question, how does the applicant's employment situation affect the family reunification request? So this is very important. The income, they have to be, as the law says, stable and regular. So that's why we always ask the clients to give at least 3 months of salary pay sleeve. I see that there is a question I will answer after this question. So we ask for 3 months salary pay sleeves. Some embassies, they ask for 1 year. They are very exigent. So it means it really has to be a long period. And most of the time, we really encourage our client to really apply with a work contract of 1 year and not indéterminé. I don't know the name in English. Un contrat indéterminé, so at least 1 year contract, because then it shows sometimes that it is stable and regular. And for independence, the proof that it is stable and regular will be made by a tax assessment. So it means a document from last year showing that you have been working last year as an independent and paying taxes. So it has to be quite stable. So I can see we have a question here. Let's answer the question. No question. Fifth question, my spouse and children live in India. What type of visa do they need to obtain to come to Belgium for family reunification? I said it earlier, it would be a D visa. Nothing special to add. If the person has more questions about that, she can just ask for more clarifications. Sixth question, if my application is denied, what are my options to appeal? As I said before, previously in the presentation, and that's why I like to make a presentation before, because it covers most of the time a lot of the questions. But it's a very good question, of course. You can always apply for make an appeal. And it can be interesting because while you make an appeal in those topics, you will get a residence permit. Meanwhile, the appeal is examined and it can last some time. But what I prefer is that you apply again for a new family reunion with new documents, with new elements, and you will have a 6 month or 9 months residence permit. So something more stable, because when you apply for you make an appeal, you will have a 1 month document that you have to renew every month. And it's challenging to do that, to go to the commune. And on the top, when you apply, the only thing that you can get, when you go on appeal, I mean, the only thing that you can get is that the court will say the decision that has been made in the family reunion is illegal, so the stranger's office has to make another decision. So it's much easier and faster to apply again yourself, not waiting that the judge says it's a wrong decision. Seventh question. What documents must my children provide if they are adults but financially dependent? This depends on the case, but of course, when we apply for those kind of visa, when we help our clients to apply for those kind of visa, we are quite exigent because we really want to put all the chances on the side of the client. So we ask a maximum proof, document who prove that without the help of the person living in Belgium, the child cannot survive, basically. Has not enough income to face the living in the country of origin. And of course, depending on the country, the amount is different. So it will depend on the living standards of the country. And we really have to show that the amount that are sent are enough to cover the living standard. So it might be the proof of money transfer. The best would be 1 year of proof of money transfer every month with enough amount. The proof that the member of the family living in Belgium is paying, for example, the rent of the apartment, of the house where the child is living or has been living in the country of origin. So all those informations that show that the child that is an adult, but he's in charge, is really depending on the help of the family. Second question, my spouse was denied a Schengen visa 2 years ago. Does this impact the family reunification application? So generally, I would say not. But there are two exceptions where you have to be extremely careful, and you would better have to go to a lawyer to have more information. And it would be if the person has been flagged in the Schengen system, for example, if there was some problem with public order, he didn't, he stayed longer than he should in Belgium or in another European country without living in time, might be a problem. And then we would have to explain why it happened, and show that it will not happen again. And also, could be when, and this is more problematic, some people, they stay in Belgium, they stay so long without documentation that they get an invitation to leave the country with a prohibition to come back to Schengen state during 3, 5, or 8 years. And in those cases, it's very difficult to get a family reunification. We have to make an extra process to remove that interdiction. Might be challenging, it take a bit more time, but of course we can help you with that. So what medical insurances are required for my family during the family reunification application? I see we have a question of Serge, and I'm going to answer the questions. Just 1 second, because I hear there is a lot of noise, so I'm going to answer in a second.
Hello. Hello. Here. We can't hear you.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
Nice.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
So thank you for your question. I am going to read it. So you are Serge, huh? So yeah, Serge.
I'm Serge. This is Savar. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you as well. So the question is, I am a US citizen and resident. I am not also a citizen of any EU country. My wife is a Belgian citizen who recently joined me in the US. If we travel together to Belgium for a visit, my wife can extend her presence in the country as she wishes, but I am typically not allowed there more than 90 days in a 6 months time frame. Is there any possibility for me to legally extend my presence in Belgium so we could stay for longer than 90 days? Okay, good question. Thank you. So there is a possibility of extension. You can ask it for another 90 days, but it's under conditions. You really have to show that it's impossible for you to go back to your country. So technically, it happened in my experience of facing those kind of process during COVID, of course. And we really could postpone the declaration of arrival for once or twice, so which means 1 or 2 times 90 days. Also, when some clients, they are sick, and they arrive in Belgium, they are allowed to stay 3 months, they get sick, they have an appointment in a hospital, and they ask for postponing their declaration of arrival, and it can function. But it has to be accepted. So depending on the reason why you would like to do that, and in your case, maybe it would be interesting to have a residence in Belgium so that when you travel, you don't have to deal with that. So may I have more information about the reason why you want to have an extension?
Okay. Before my wife joined me into the US, she lived in Brussels, and we were already married, and I had to shuttle internationally from United States to Brussels to just spend 90 days, then return and try again in Europe when I was allowed again. And that was more important at the time to be able to extend that. Now that her immigration paper to the US have been completed and she's now with me, the only other reasons that may occur for a visit to be extended would be if she might, God forbid, need to have medical care in Brussels, back where she has certain hospitals and doctors where she had been going before. And she needs to fix those problems, and it may take longer than 3 months until those problems are treated. And I want to be with her. Then that will be a justification. Another possibility would be that, for example, that we might, for example, contemplate some real estate affairs or something that may take longer for documentation and other arrangements to be completed that may not be done in 3 months, and it may require my presence as well. I cannot really think of immediately of any other reasons there might be. The only thing I would add is that when I studied this question before, when I was explained, as you did now, that I might want to get some temporary residence in Belgium, but that requires me to be more than 6 months in a year in Belgium. At least 6 months would confirm that, if I understood that well. And by doing that, I may lose some of the benefits of my residence in the United States. And I was not very sure I wanted to do that.
I understand, of course, I understand. Yeah, indeed, the law says that you have to remain more than 6 months. But what you have to know is that in Belgium, we are a very relaxed country, and there are no controls about that. So it's not really necessary to stay exactly here. What you have to keep is a residence here and make sure that all the official documentation you would get in your mailbox would be received. So, for example, if you get your your tax assessment, if you are paying taxes here for whatever reason, if they realize you are not taking it, there might be an inquiry and you might be removed of the list of the foreigners living in Belgium. But it's quite theoretical. So there is no control. That's what I want to say. So you can be very relaxed about that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
You're welcome. So any other questions once you are...
No, I'm fine.
No, it's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Merci beaucoup. Bonne
Welcome. Wish you the best for that. So we have another question. And I don't know why I don't see myself now. Yeah. I'm facing a technical problem. Zara, maybe you can help me because we don't see my image anymore. Or I go back to the questions, maybe. Yeah. I just would like to read the question that we have now. It's a question in French. So let's read it. And thank you for your question. Bonjour madame, j'ai récemment introduit une demande de cohabitation légale avec ma copine en zone flamande. Mais présentement, je suis presque en situation irrégulière. Risque de perte de séjour étudiant pour cause de faux garant. Oui, ça c'est des choses qui arrivent en effet. La différence d'âge, 6 ans entre moi et ma copine, peut être un problème. Et elle a également un enfant à charge. Quels sont les délais d'attente pour l'enregistrement de la cohabitation légale? Très bien. Eh bien, on va y revenir. C'est une excellente question. Je vais juste essayer de changer ma vignette pour qu'on me voit. OK. Donc, comme je vous l'avais dit, hein, vous pouvez poser des questions si vous le souhaitez, préciser, etc. Moi, j'ai bien vu la question ici. Comme je le disais, le délai d'attente pour l'enregistrement de la cohabitation, ça peut être 6 mois, mais on peut s'arranger pour accélérer les choses. Comment est-ce qu'on peut faire? Ben, on peut demander à l'agent de quartier qui va s'occuper de l'enquête de résidence de venir plus rapidement chez vous. Moi, ça m'arrive assez souvent. Je ne sais pas si vous m'entendez bien. Si jamais il y a un problème de son, vous me le dites. Et donc, moi, ça m'arrive dans des cas où j'ai besoin d'une enquête de résidence d'urgence, d'envoyer les clients chez l'agent de quartier pour que l'agent de quartier fasse l'enquête plus rapidement. Donc, évidemment, la première chose à faire, c'est il faut faire la demande de cohabitation légale le plus rapidement possible et en séjour légal, parce que si vous n'êtes plus en séjour légal et que si vous êtes sous le coup d'un ordre de quitter le territoire, bah, vous ne pourrez plus vous présenter à la commune sans crainte d'une éventuelle expulsion ou d'être ennuyé. Donc, il vaut mieux le faire en séjour légal. Et une fois que ça a été fait, ben, qu'est-ce qui bloque? Qu'est-ce qui va prendre du temps? C'est vraiment l'enquête de résidence pour vérifier si vous habitez bien avec votre compagne. Évidemment, il peut toujours y avoir, comme je le disais tout à l'heure, une enquête aussi du parquet pour voir si c'est un véritable mariage, mais je ne doute pas qu'il n'y aura pas de problème. Et si jamais il y en avait, on pourrait de toute façon vous aider. Et donc, le délai de 6 mois peut être raccourci, évidemment. Mais bon, on ne peut pas vous le garantir parce que c'est un délai d'ordre, un délai légal. Et comme je vous le disais tout à l'heure, dans une hypothèse comme la vôtre, parfois, ça vaut la peine de faire une demande de régularisation de séjour pour s'assurer que vous n'êtes pas inquiété et que vous pouvez continuer à faire votre processus de regroupement familial sans être inquiété. Voilà, j'espère que ça répond à votre question. C'était une question en français. Si vous avez des précisions à demander, n'hésitez pas. So I'm going to finish this webinar as we have no more questions here in the chat with the 2 last questions. The 9th question is what medical insurance are required for my family during the family unification application. So in Belgium, we have a system that is called La Mutuelle. It's a public help healthcare, which gives a very interesting payback of your health cares. But you can, of course, have a better covering with a private insurance. So it can be the public health insurance or the private health insurance. Both are accepted. And for this last question, how is the process affected if I change jobs or legal status in Belgium during the family unification process? Changing job might be a problem, and it happened to me in a file, several files, that there was an application for family unification. The person to be joined had a job, lost the job during the process and didn't find another job, and there was a refusal of the family unification because the stranger's office has the information, can get the information that the job has been lost and has not been renewed. So be extra careful about that. And it's not such a problem, I must say, because we can always apply again by sometimes if you lost your ID, if you are illegal, we can find strategies to cover your stay and that you can apply again until the person to be joined finds a new job. I'm going to answer the question until I answer to the person who raised their hand. Of course, if the status is changing in Belgium, it can have an impact, but I don't see any. It's a bit theoretical as a question. I don't see any problem. By example, changing status might be, of course, if it's a student who is losing his stay ID in Belgium, then the family unification cannot be done because he lost his ID. But in another hypothesis, if the person to be joined has 5 years residence in Belgium, for example, a F card, I was speaking about that in the past, previously, I mean, if the person become Belgium, so no problem, the family unification can be done and it will not affect the process. So I think there is a question here because there is a hand raised, but maybe it's a mistake. So,
Non, c'est pas,
Ah.
désolé, c'est pas une erreur.
d'accord.
J'ai bien levé la main.
Oui.
J'avais d'autres questions.
Oui.
Dites, c'est normal parce que dans le mail que la commune m'a envoyé, ils disent que je suis déjà en situation irrégulière. Par contre, l'Office des étrangers ne m'a pas encore répondu euh, par rapport à la fausse prise en charge qu'ils ont trouvée chez eux. Donc, du coup, et en plus de cela, j'ai encore mon annexe 15. Et dans le mail dans lequel la commune a envoyé, ils disent, ils suspectent que ça peut être une cohabitation, un arrangement, donc du coup, ils doivent mener des enquêtes. Pour un premier temps, ils ont prolongé de 2 mois. Ensuite, ils ont dit qu'on pourra encore prolonger de 3 mois. Et du coup, ils ont demandé des preuves. Ils ont envoyé chez le procureur. C'est normal qu'ils envoient ça chez le procureur.
Bon, c'est la procédure, elle est comme ça, en effet, hein. Donc, vous avez déjà été interviewé par la commune ou par
Non, non, pas du tout. Ils ont demandé des preuves, des conversations, type des transports et autres, des photos et
Voilà.
tout.
Donc, il faut en effet, quand c'est comme ça, déposer un dossier complet avec des preuves que ben, vous êtes véritablement dans une relation, des preuves d'échange de WhatsApp, par exemple, des preuves que des lettres sont envoyées pour vous à l'adresse où vous habitez avec votre compagne. Et il peut arriver que ce soit insatisfaisant et que donc vous allez être... on va vous poser des questions, il va y avoir une enquête et vous allez être auditionné par la commune et la police. Et on va vous poser des questions. Alors, quel genre de questions on va vous poser? En fait, ils ne vont pas essayer de savoir, enfin, ils ne vont pas vous poser des questions parce que ce n'est pas possible à prouver pour être sûr que vous êtes dans une vraie relation. Par contre, ce qu'ils vont faire, c'est qu'ils vont confronter les questions. Ils vont poser à vous et à madame les mêmes questions pour s'assurer que les réponses sont les mêmes. Donc, c'est plutôt comme ça qu'ils font. Ils font des enquêtes croisées en s'attendant à ce que les réponses soient les mêmes. Et si jamais il y a une différence dans les réponses, là, ça pose un problème. Je vous donne un exemple concret. Imaginez qu'on vous pose la question en vous disant, quand vous vous êtes rencontrés, est-ce qu'il faisait beau? Eh bien là, si madame dit non, il pleuvait, c'était au mois de mars et il y a une, comment on appelle, hein, une drache nationale, et que vous vous dites, ben non, il faisait très beau parce que vous étiez tellement heureux ce jour-là et que vous avez même oublié qu'il pleuvait, et vous dites il y avait du soleil, ben, ça peut être un problème en effet. Donc il faut faire très attention à ce que vous dites et il faut se préparer à l'avance. Et nous, on accompagne nos clients pour préparer pour ce genre de problèmes éventuels.
Mais par contre, si on dit peut-être on ne se rappelle pas que ça remonte à 2 ans, 3 ans, ça pose problème. Du genre des détails, au fait.
Alors, bon, moi je dis toujours à mes clients, hein, moi personnellement, j'ai épousé mon mari en 2004. Je l'ai rencontré en 2000. Je serais incapable de dire comment il faisait. Et donc là, je dis, je ne sais plus, je ne sais pas. Voilà, le mieux, c'est de ne pas inventer, c'est de dire, écoutez, votre question, elle est trop compliquée. Comment voulez-vous que je m'en souvienne? Je suis sûre que vous ne vous en souviendriez pas, alors imaginez. Donc, vous pouvez dire, je ne sais plus. Et le mieux, quand on doute, c'est de ne pas inventer. Et c'est ça tout le problème. Quand on est sous le coup d'une enquête, quand on est stressé, parfois on invente pour faire plaisir à l'enquêteur, je pense. J'ai des clients qui inventent et qui donnent des approximations, alors que vraiment, la formule magique, c'est de dire je ne sais plus ou je ne sais pas.
D'accord, d'accord, d'accord. Et par
Évidemment, on
rapport
ne
au
peut pas le dire tout le
procureur,
temps.
tout ça, c'est normal?
Ben oui, c'est la procédure, oui.
D'accord.
Voilà. Donc, bon, là, je vous conseille peut-être de venir faire un petit tour au cabinet L'Expat pour qu'on regarde ensemble les documents et qu'on puisse vous conseiller utilement sur la meilleure stratégie à adopter, comment essayer d'éviter les problèmes.
D'accord,
Ça va?
d'accord, ça va.
Voilà.
Merci.
Merci pour votre question en tout cas et alors ben, bonne chance dans cette procédure, hein. Alors
Merci.
voilà, moi j'arrive à la fin de ce webinaire. J'ai pris de nouveau beaucoup de plaisir à faire ce webinaire. Merci d'avoir été présent. Thank you for joining us in this first webinar in English. It was a pleasure for me. And we will continue doing webinars in French or in English, depending on what is the most useful for you. So keep joining the webinar, keep participating. It's really a pleasure for me and for Zara as well, who is helping me with the technique. So goodbye. I wish you a very nice evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, you too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bonne soirée.
Au revoir. Merci.